Hello, and thank you for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, Israel marks former Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin's assassination, ILTV's Natasha Kirtchuk joins us from Washington D.C., and an Israeli music star grants ILTV a private audience. I'm Aaron Porras, here with the latest news in Israel. According to the Hebrew calendar date, today marks the anniversary of the assassination of former Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Current Premier Benjamin Netanyahu released a video statement to commemorate the occasion. In the 50-second message, Netanyahu condemned Rabin's killing as shocking and abhorrent. Even though he was serving as the nation's opposition leader at the time, Netanyahu was seen denouncing inflammatory rhetoric against his former political rival as wrong, misguided, and immoral. The Prime Minister is strongly rejecting allegations from his critics that he may have played a role in contributing to an anti-Rabin climate that led to the 1995 assassination. Netanyahu is insisting that any such claims are nothing but attempts to distort the historical truth. A Jewish extremist named Yigal Amir shot Rabin to death amid wide-scale public protests against the Oslo peace accords being pushed by his administration. Many on the right referred to Rabin as a traitor for giving West Bank land to the Palestinians. They believed that the Palestinians would only continue to wage terror against the Jewish people regardless. Now to Washington, D.C., where in the aftermath of the 2016 presidential elections, ILTV lead anchorwoman Natasha Kirtchuk joins us via Skype from the 2016 Jewish General Assembly. How are you, Natasha?
I'm great. Hi, Aaron. So I have a bit of a cold. It's pretty cold here in Washington, D.C., not the warm Tel Aviv weather, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's been quite the experience landing here. You could almost immediately feel the tension in the air after this election. The city seems to be very divided, and this is Democratic President Barack Obama's territory, so it was very hard to find people who had voted for Trump themselves, but I decided to go out onto the street and really get a sense of how people were feeling, both Americans and American Jews alike.
Masa Israel is home to the widest variety of immersive international experiences for Jewish young adults 18 to 30. Find the right study abroad internship, service learning, or Jewish studies program to help you grow as a person, a professional, and a leader, while also developing a robust global professional network that includes Israelis and Jews from around the world.
We're here in Washington, D.C., standing in front of what will one day be the President-elect Donald Trump's new home. The city has been the epicenter of one of the most fierce political battles in American history, and while it's packed with tourists, not everybody is happy about the vote. It's a beautiful afternoon in the capital of the United States, but tensions are high.
I was 100% sure. I thought Hillary Clinton was going to win the election, and it was like a knock to the head when I found out that Donald Trump was going to be in the office right behind me.
Over the course of the last 72 hours, dozens of unhappy voters have been gathering in central D.C. to protest the election of Donald Trump to the office of presidency.
First one is stick around. We may have lost the election, but this isn't the end.
But emotions aren't only running high among locals. Foreign tourists are also worried about the new president-elect.
We are not going to travel to the U.S. as long as he is president, because it's my last time for a long time here, if ever. Because if people can elect someone like him as the head of a country who has actually impact on all those national, important things, who always contradicts himself the whole time, I'm not interested to visit a country like that.
For die-hard Democrats, there still is some hope that they won't have to live through a Trump presidency. That hope comes in the form of a surprise twist from the Electoral College. It turns out Hillary Clinton actually won the popular vote by about 200,000 votes, while Trump won the race to the White House by securing more votes in the Electoral College.
For those of you who don't know much about the American voting system, the chosen electors of the Electoral College are the real people who will vote for the president when they meet on December 19th in their respective states. They usually vote according to the votes of the people in their states, but there technically isn't anything stopping the electors from refusing to support the candidate to whom they've been bound. There's even a name for choosing to do that: a faithless elector. It's pretty rare for electors to go faithless, but if enough Clinton supporters take to the streets, there's a chance it could happen.
Like, the Electoral College has been around for so long, and I just think it's a system that just needs to change. It's just definitely something that needs to be updated because, I mean, America kind of spoke like with the popular vote, and it's just being decided by a system that Donald Trump himself said was rigged before the votes were even cast. So it's kind of ironic.
And some of the strongest supporters of Hillary Clinton are American Jews themselves. The Democratic candidate captured a whopping 70% of the Jewish vote in the election. Yet the Republican president-elect has long touted a very pro-Israel stance. So what were Jewish voters focusing on at the polls?
As a Jew, I'm not in favor of Donald Trump being president, and for multiple reasons. I think one of them, if you're looking at his immigration policies, Jews were immigrants to the United States a while ago, and he wants to kick a lot of them out. He wants to bar people from entering the country, and that, you know, as someone whose grandfather was born in Poland and faced a lot of anti-Semitism there, it's very distressing. I don't think Israel was a factor in my decision while I voted. I think either way, I think both parties have been generally very supportive of Israel.
It turns out Israel often isn't the deciding factor in the average American Jew's vote. But there are exceptions. Was Israel on your mind when you guys were making a vote?
Absolutely. Israel is always on our minds.
With so many devastated voters surrounding us, we couldn't help but wonder who voted Trump into power. Believe me, it was hard to find somebody willing to proclaim their support for the new leader in Washington, D.C., which is still Democratic President Barack Obama's territory. Who did you vote for?
I voted for Donald Trump.
Okay, great. Finally, I found somebody who's willing to say that out loud.
Donald Trump is a businessman. I'm a businesswoman, and I think it's just time to maybe put the country back in the hands of a businessman rather than putting the country in the hands of yet another politician and having 4 more years of the same. So I thought, you know, what the heck, maybe there'll be a change.
I like the fact that Donald Trump said he's not happy with the Iranian deal that went through, and I wasn't happy with it, you know, for Israel, for Jewish people.
After a day of trying to really get a sense of the mood post-elections, it was easy to start feeling hopeless. After all, the divisions in the United States seemed deeper than ever. But on the way home, even our taxi driver had some words of positivity.
Did he say some bigger things? Yeah, it did cut me inside. It really did cut me inside. Can he do something for the country? Well, I hope so. I really hope so.
And some of our newfound friends suggested a special way to cap off the night, in honor of the new president-elect.
Well, we stopped by to see the new Trump Hotel, which is absolutely gorgeous. And fortunately, he built it before he became president, so none of our money goes towards it, except we decided we want to go there for dinner, and because it's beautiful. And we looked at the menu, which was very expensive for the main things, but we both decided we could afford soup and salad and coffee and dessert.
Yeah.
So we're going there to have dinner.
An hors d'oeuvre or two, and
Yes.
then you're going to call it a night?
Oh, yeah, just to say that we had dinner at the Trump International. It's a gorgeous
It's
facility.
just support for the new president, right?
Right. And we'll leave him a note in case he wants to invite us to Washington when he invites the Israel ambassador.
There you go. There you go. That's a hope. Thank you, ladies, so much. All right, guys, it's time to call it a night. It's getting chilly here. It's not exactly Tel Aviv, but if you want to learn more about our journey in Washington, D.C., as we discover more about the Jewish identity in the United States, tune into ILTV.tv tomorrow. This is Natasha Kirtchuk reporting for ILTV.
All right, Natasha, thank you so much for the scoop from D.C. today. We'll see you again tomorrow. Now on to the American Jewish community who overwhelmingly supported Hillary Clinton for president in last week's election, while President-elect Donald Trump got little support, even from Jewish Republicans. Political pundit Mitchell Barak told ILTV's Steve Leibowitz that even though the community supported his opponent, he expects that the Jewishness of Trump's daughter Ivanka will ensure Jewish holidays are celebrated in the White House.
Well, I think if you look at all the countries around the world that are expressing shock and amazement and concern about a Trump presidency, there's one country in the world that is probably the biggest beneficiary of this Trump victory and victory for the United States, and that's the state of Israel.
How will it benefit Israel?
Well, because first of all, Netanyahu's policies are not towards appeasement or not towards making concessions at this point to Palestinians or other Arab countries when there's certainly no leadership. And a Clinton presidency would have put a lot of pressure and interest on Israel and the region to do something and to follow in Obama's legacy to do that. It doesn't appear that this is going to be very high on the radar screen of President Donald Trump, and he's made some statements in the past that he would be supportive of the current policies of the government.
As a pollster, can you comment on the fact that we recently witnessed Brexit, the vote in England to leave the EU? We've seen several votes that indicated a turn to the right in Europe. Is this part of that same trend, just the American form?
Well, I think there's a movement in the polling industry, and certainly we're seeing that because we're doing mobile polling via apps in the U.S., that people feel much more comfortable giving their opinion to a mobile phone, to a screen, rather than say it on the phone or through a mouse. So
because they'd be embarrassed?
Not just that they'd be embarrassed. They feel much more comfortable with their phone. They're always on it. They're always using it. They're making a lot of decisions based on that, and they don't have to verbalize. People don't really want to verbalize. So that's a better method to do polling. But I think what a lot of this is tapping into, whether it's Brexit, whether it's even Netanyahu's last victory here, is, a lot of the polling companies and most of the media companies are run by certain elite people and well-educated people, and they tend to think the country is very much about themselves or people that are like themselves, and they're not reaching out to people that are upset or people that are not in their circles of people. I mean, just if you look at New York State, so many of the viewers are probably from New York State. We tend to think of New York State as, New York City, Brooklyn, Queens, Westchester. But New York State, if you go up towards Ithaca, New York, and towards Syracuse, New York, and you have a lot of really rural areas in New York which are totally different than the type of people that most New Yorkers are even used to meeting ever.
Trump and others in Europe have been using a kind of a fear tactic in their campaigning, the fear of migrants, the fear of the unknown, the fear of terrorism. Prime Minister Netanyahu, it could be argued, does the same. Are there similarities? Have they found the method that seems right now to be hitting a responsive chord among voters?
Well, elections are really interesting because unlike anything else, you can really warn people about dangers and about possible death if they don't elect you or don't pick you or your product or your candidate. You never hear people say, drink Coke because you're going to die, if you drink Coke, but water is much better. So it's the way that it's marketed, for sure. But I think that we see the true test of the Trump presidency will be not all the divisiveness that he's created, which has helped him, both in the Republican primary, it helped him tremendously, and it obviously helped him get elected, although everyone said it would not help him get elected. He cut right through all that. What will separate it is how does he become, as president-elect and then president. And the earliest indications that we have from his acceptance or his victory speech was one of graciousness to his opponent, one of unity. He used the words unity, united, a number of times, and that's really going to be how he will be judged. And again, it's okay, but it's objectionable to many people to slander and to, foment hate and anger during a campaign. The question is, what do you do after it, and what is the lasting effect of it?
Mitchell Barak, thanks for being with us at ILTV.
Israel and Russia commemorated 25 years of diplomatic ties last week with a special visit to Jerusalem by Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev. While hosting his Russian counterpart for high-level talks, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described Jerusalem and Moscow as partners in the battle against Islamist extremism. He went on to stress that Israel will neither permit Iran to succeed in its efforts to arm Hezbollah and other Shiite terrorists in the region, nor to acquire atomic weapons.
אנחנו נחושים לעשות שני דברים. אחד, למנוע מאיראן השגת נשק גרעיני, והשני, למנוע מאיראן בכל מצב שיהיה בסוריה, עם הסדר או בלי הסדר. אנחנו נחושים למנוע מאיראן להתבסס צבאית בסוריה.
Предотвратить возможность укрепления Ирана в Сирии.
באוויר.
Это не важно наземно.
Российская Федерация, естественно, также выступает против распространения ядерного оружия. Ну и, естественно, совместными усилиями, а здесь наша позиция открытая, мы готовы к сотрудничеству со всеми государствами, кто в этом заинтересован. Нам необходимо уничтожить ядро терроризма, которое в настоящий момент олицетворяет Даиш или ИГИЛ.
Medvedev added that every time he visits Israel, he feels at home and underscored that the Jewish state is one of Russia's most important regional trading partners. He then made time to pay his respects at the Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum. The Russian Prime Minister lit an eternal flame and laid a wreath to commemorate the over 6 million Jews killed by the Nazis in the Second World War. Medvedev wrapped up his regional visit by meeting with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, who stressed his expectations for U.S. President-elect Donald Trump.
ما نطالبه به هو أن تقبل أمريكا وتعمل على تطبيق حل الدولتين، دولة إسرائيل ودولة فلسطين تعيشان جنبا إلى جنب بأمن واستقرار.
The Russian premier made it clear that his own nation is still willing to follow through on its September initiative to broker negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians.
Это предложение не отозвано, оно, что называется, находится на столе, и им можно воспользоваться в любой момент. В целом мы исходим из того, что двухгосударственное решение – это единственный способ достичь прочного мира на этой древней земле. Мы как посредники будем продолжать свои усилия. Надеемся на помощь других участников процесса, включая и новую администрацию Соединенных Штатов Америки.
The 2018 World Cup qualifiers are progressing at full speed right now, and despite recent setbacks, it seems that the Israeli team spirit is back on track. The Israeli national soccer team got its wish of reaching the 2018 World Cup alive by trouncing host Albania 3-0 last night. Last week, Israel's Counterterrorism Bureau issued a statement saying that people identified with the Islamic State were planning on attacking the game. 4 Muslim suspects who were arrested for plotting the attacks allegedly planned to plant explosives in the stadium aimed at killing spectators. The Israeli government responded by issuing a travel warning to Albania, and the Group G qualifying round was played in the city of Shkodër after being moved from the capital Tirana. Though coming out on top in the latest match, Israel still trails behind Spain and Italy, and only the top finishing team will automatically qualify for the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Before ILTV's Natasha Kirtchuk took off to Washington, D.C., she had the pleasure of going to a very special private concert of one of Israel's most famous musicians. Let's check it out.
Alright guys, so Matty Cosby is one of the most famous Israeli musicians here in the Holy Land, and we're actually going to get a chance to hang out with him as he prepares for his next big show, and he's actually going to serenade us. Matty Cosby. Here in Israel, everybody has heard that name. He's known as the king of the art of music itself, a composer, a musician, a songwriter, and a singer. Yet when he identifies himself, he's first a kibbutznik, a soul born and raised in one of Israel's first communal settlements in the north.
As a musician, I became a very calm person. I'm not easy to get angry of something. Life in the kibbutz was like utopia.
But Cosby's small-town upbringing didn't fully translate into his style of music. As a little boy, the Israeli star kept his ear pressed to the side of the radio.
Every week, once a week, I was listening to a program in the radio, and it was a program that broadcast music from all over the world. So this is my influence. That's why I'm playing, or I wrote music in a lot of styles.
And that's an understatement. From reggae to jazz to classical music to rock, it can sometimes be hard to identify the roots to the 66-year-old songs. His music style is so diverse, many say it can't be classified.
I learned piano for 6 years, classical music, and my teacher said that I have a very good future as a pianist, but I was lazy and I didn't want to practice. But I used the piano for my own purpose, to write music.
And write music he has. If he's not performing one of his own songs, he's creating one for another top Israeli musician. Cosby has collaborated with almost all of Israel's biggest stars, from Shlomo Gronik to Ricky Gal.
I wrote until now above thousands songs. When I write, I forget about the environment around me.
But what is perhaps the most beautiful thing about Cosby's music is its focus on people and not on Israel's controversial political situation.
I'm not the type who writes songs regarding situation of the country or something like that, but situation of people. It's art, just clean, pure art.
So here's the good news. If you're looking to get a taste of Cosby's clean and pure Israeli music, you may have a more local opportunity. The Israeli star will be performing in New York City and California from November 15th to November 21st.
Do you feel that when you're traveling and performing abroad, you're a representative of Israel?
This is part of the culture in Israel. So yes, representing the culture from Israel. I always proud to do what I do.
For more information about Matty Cosby's upcoming performances in the United States, go to www.mattykosby.co.il. This is Natasha Kirtchuk reporting for ILTV.
Israeli television series have long been a smash success abroad, and such shows like Homeland and In Treatment were created in Israel and then sold to the global market to reach a wider audience. Now, it looks like we can add Fauda to this impressive list. ILTV's Natalie Tursky has more on the story.
Netflix just purchased the rights to the hit Israeli TV series from the Yes satellite channel, and it's scheduled to stream worldwide on December 2nd. The program was created by Times of Israel correspondent Avi Issakarov and the series' lead actor Lior Raz. Fauda means chaos in Arabic, and the word is also commonly used by Israelis. The plot centers on members of an Israeli counter-terrorism team who are disguised as Arabs in their pursuit of fictional Hamas terrorists. The show has received high praise for its authenticity, particularly in revealing the state of anxiety and pressure experienced by undercover agents. It's also unusual because audience empathy is sometimes evoked on behalf of the Hamas characters. A premiere event for the show is scheduled to be held in Los Angeles later this month, on November 28th. So far, only one season of Fauda has been filmed. It aired in 2015, but everyone's hoping there will be more.
Masa Israel is home to the widest variety of immersive international experiences for Jewish young adults 18 to 30. Find the right study abroad internship, service learning, or Jewish studies program to help you grow as a person, a professional, and a leader, while also developing a robust global professional network that includes Israelis and Jews from around the world. And now for our Hebrew word of the day. With Natasha Kirtchuk at the Jewish General Assembly in Washington, D.C., the schedule here at ILTV can of course get pretty hectic. So in honor of hard workers everywhere, today's word of the day is luz, or schedule. Now luz is actually a conjunction of luach zmanim, which literally translates to timetable. And there are many different kinds of luzim. A luz for feeding the dogs, a luz for completing your work, a luz for the weekend vacation, or even a luz for the whole year. So however you decide to use a luz, or even if you decide not to use a luz at all, it's a great way to keep on track. Just don't forget to leave a little room on your luz for us. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast.
ILTV's weather forecast is sponsored by Adopt a Savta, taking care of Israel's lonely Holocaust survivors.
Tonight should be partly cloudy and we'll have a slight drop in temperatures to a low of 62 or 17 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow we'll have an additional temperature drop, but should still be pretty pleasant with a high of 77 or 25 degrees Celsius. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.84 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at ILTV.tv. Thanks for watching, and see you tonight.